Hi, Brian. I'm Catherine Straight, and I had a question about, say a company wants to incorporate a new kind of social media. They may have a website, but they just did it because everyone else is making a website. What would be your suggestion for what should be the first step in creating a social media tool for that business? And if they have, people who work for them who are kind of older and don't really know about social media, should they fire them and hire younger people, or should they, pay for the training to get these people in the know about the new social media tools?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. I think what social media needs most of these days are champions. And by that I mean every organization is struggling with how to embrace and how to engage. They know they want to do it. Some do anyway. But most aren't doing it the right way. And a lot of that is fear, maybe underestimation. But I'll tell you this, that whether they're young or old, and understanding how it benefits the business bottom line is what it's going to take. There's an organization out there called the Society for New Communications Research, SNCR for short. I think it's sncr.org. They have a ton of data, and I'm talking about raw data, things that executives like to sink their teeth into, that make the case for engaging in social media. And it shows everything from what happens in a crisis, things that specifically take place in the world of social media, and the stocks plummet, to customer service and customer ratings completely dropping. So with that, long answer to this one, people, whether they're old or young, as long as they can understand the fundamentals of business as well as conversations, everybody's on the same equal footing, right? Because on one hand you have the younger generation that grew up with understanding how to converse through social media, but may not understand the dynamics of how a business really works and customer relationships and what have you. And on the other hand, you have somebody who understands these things hopefully by this time, and might not necessarily understand all of these newfangled social tools and why people need to communicate on Twitter or Jaiku or what have you. But everybody needs the training in one way or another, so how it impacts the business is going to be most helpful. I can explain one more thing too, that a lot of companies miss, and that is that they mistakenly assume that having a website is enough because it gets you online. The one thing that I've been pushing, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this over the next month, there is a real difference right now between web optimization and social media optimization. And if you search Google for one topic, you might get a set of results. But if you search Technorati or Blog Pulse or Sphere, any one of these upcoming social search engines, you're going to get a whole different set of results. So when I publish a blog post, it's going to be discoverable in the social search engines. It's not necessarily going to rise to the top found in regular Google. And this is a really important factor, because you have to sort of understand how to listen to these conversations in the world of social media in order to understand how to participate in them. And the people, whether they're young or old, that can understand that within a company are going to be those that are most successful.
Yeah.
So
Okay, thanks. I'm going to do a quick plug because Brian actually wrote a post that came to mind when you were answering this question about the difference between hiring a blogger or hiring a non-blogger. And I would just encourage everybody in the class, I'll go ahead and post it on there, to read that blog post, because I think you made some really good points about how companies are approaching hiring people to do social media and how they might be making the wrong decisions in that. So that was my little plug for you, a little free publicity. We have one more question if you still have time.
Absolutely, and real quick on that one point is, I want to say that there's mistakes, but they're not really mistakes. I encourage everybody and every company out there to try. What I'm trying to do is sort of survey the landscape or share my experience with everybody in terms of what works and what doesn't work. But I can tell you this, that social media right now by most companies, including those, pretending to be smart about it, are completely underestimating the people that they're trying to reach. And I think that's really important, right? None of us want to get marketed to. I mean, one thing we share is not only are we in public relations, but we are too customers, right? And I don't think any one of us want to get spammed by people trying to pretend like they're our friends. And people that don't take the time to understand why reaching to me might be beneficial to me. And this really comes down to not so much social media, but sociology. And this is about understanding communities. This is about understanding people. This is understanding the dynamics of human interaction. And these things that we're talking about in social media are just tools. And just because you get people who know how to use tools doesn't mean that they know how to convince you that they care about you, right? And there's when I was giving a speech about social media to some folks recently, I searched images on Google to find some creative art to decorate my slides, and I typed in social media, and the one image that stuck with me was this person who was so anti-PR, took the time to create a couple of graphics that at the time were among the first pages, and it basically was a graphic that said, "You don't care about me, so F off." And it really paints a picture. This guy is just some person who's anti-PR. He's not a reporter, he's not a blogger, he's just anti-PR. And he took the time to create these graphics and make sure that they showed up at the top of Google. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we are fighting an uphill battle because PR for so long has been lazy and has neglected the fact that, whether it was social or not, ultimately it was all about people. Reporters are people, analysts are people. And so blasting news releases or relying on the wire to get news out really put us in a bad position. Social media is exposing that. And there are some of us that are trying to go out there and help a lot of people get into this, but don't jump into social media because it's the new thing. Jump into it because you really care about what it is you stand for.
Mm-hmm.